Hi everyone, nice to see you again. Thanks for joining us on Zoom. Hi Arnie, hi to Evelyn, all others who might be joining us. Look forward to it. So today we talk about mental fitness. Obviously it's a very hot topic nowadays, and mental well-being in general, due to everything that's going on in the world and the fast pace of change and pandemic and all the other things. So we thought it might be interesting for you to have a topic this week about it. And because Rina is working with the brain, and I do, well, I'm a mental fitness coach myself. We thought that this was a common topic for us to discuss from this different aspects of it. So for those who don't know me, I'm Ildiko. I'm one of the co-founders of the group, and I've got with me Rina Lang. Rina, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, I'm the other half of this co-founding team. And we thought perhaps it would be good for us to actually discuss about the topic, something, or hold a podcast about the topic that we are actually passionate about. And we thought this is a topic that we align, and a lot of people are very concerned about as we're entering into the almost third year of COVID. So yeah, I'm sure all of you have different understandings what mental fitness means. So perhaps we start with that, Ildiko. So what does mental fitness mean to you?
So the way I look at mental fitness is it's about our ability and improving our ability to control how we respond to the challenges of life, whether we, so mental fitness is about being able to respond to difficulties and stressful situations in a more positive, calm, clear-headed, and focused manner. And in a work context, it's about thriving, not just surviving in these stressful situations and environments, and all about that ability to control ourselves, our mind, our behavior, our feelings, emotions, so they don't hijack us and get us blocked, but being able to shift into a state of mind where we can continue effectively moving forward, taking action, focus better on what's most important, in a way that it's good for our own well-being. So it's about reducing stress and responding in a more conscious, clear-headed way. How about you, Rina?
Perhaps before I say something more about that. So Ildiko and I, we've been working very closely for over a year now. One of the things that I really admire about her is how calm she is. Perhaps maybe I should share this. Just about 15 minutes ago, Ildiko had actually a little panic attack for whatever reason. But here she is, and she's able to handle the situation. And she's completely present and is able to hold the space. And that's what mental fitness is, to be able to pivot right away, despite everything, whatever is going in your inner world. When the camera is rolling, you're present and you're doing what needs to be done. And so after working for over a year with Ildiko, I'm quite impressed how it's not about suppressing your emotions or suppressing whatever is going on with you, but it's actually when you know it's time to perform and things needs to get done, you are actually the master of your life, master of your emotions, master of your mind. So to me, mental fitness means really that. It's mastering your mind and being in control of it and not letting it hijack your life, as you said, for the rest of your day or whatever. And completely, kind of like run away with whatever you're intending to do. So I used to be very emotional. And this was a big issue in my teenage years. I always say I don't want my 20s back, even if they came, wrapped up as a nice present. I really don't want to go back to my 20s because this was a very, very mentally unfit, let's put it that way, time in my whole life. And that is why in my 30s, I in the last 7 years or so, I really set out to figure out how I can master my mind, because I could not live my life from that space. If I had a podcast coming up like this, I would probably be an emotional wreck for 3 days. Now it's not a big deal. I go with my life, and then 5 minutes before, I don't have any strange butterflies in my stomach, none of that. It's just you come in, you try to do your best, and that's it. And I'm gonna move on with my life as if nothing. I move on to the next task. And so that's what mental fitness is to me, is also the ability to detach and attach without getting really entangled in whatever drama is underneath it, because it's almost like separating your mind and your emotions. It's not disassociating from your emotions, it's not suppressing it, but it's being able to observe it, realize why it's there, perhaps heal. And there are so many tools available, and some of them we're going to be sharing with you today. Heal what needs to be healing, but ultimately being in that observer space and still be able to master and control and live your life. So that's what's to me.
And if I may add something to it, it's about that control. It's also about shifting out of it. So making the decision that this, whatever's going on, that the spiraling stress, anxiety, whatever, all these negative emotions that are stirring up in you, to notice them, and make the decision. Very important, most important. I think one of the most important things is to make the decision to stop it and then shift. Because without that, it just spirals on, and it gets worse all the time as well.
Because, as you know, I keep saying this, this is one of my favorite phrases actually, is that 99% of all our problems are actually in our minds. It's really just in our minds. And this is what I've noticed years ago about my own mind. Most of the fears never realized. Most of the problems never realized. So it's all just there, and we just keep fearing and fearing the future, what might happen, what could have happened, what happened, and what others are thinking about it. It's all being wrapped up in all those stories, that all of that comes just crashing on you when you are in the moment where you really need to perform. So if you have not paid attention to all those stories that you get wrapped up and disentangled yourself, then of course things go wrong, right? Things go wrong, and when you need to be most clear in your mind. So, but actually, ultimately, it's just in our heads. 99% is just there. So it's about cleaning up, disentangling ourselves, understanding that there's this phrase by Shanti Deva I've learned a few years ago. He was a Buddhist monk. If you can do something about it, then why worry? If you can't do anything about it, then why worry, right? This used to be my mantra years ago. Whenever I was like, okay, oh my God, I'm missing a deadline. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. It's like, okay, if I can do something about it, then I'll do about it now. But then I realized most of the things were out of my control. There was nothing I could have done about it. So if it's not even in my control, then why am I giving it control over me and how I feel, how I think? So just seeing that perspective, really analyzing, can I do something about it? Okay, what can I do? What parts of the situation can I do anything about? Because in many, many cases, we are so dependent on what others might do, what others might choose, what others might decide. But then ultimately, if you keep kind of like surrendering yourself and giving away your power to all those things that you're powerless to change, then why worry? Just relax. Things somehow are going to work out. So this was one of my strategies.
Yeah. Well, I'm just thinking that relax is quite easy to say, but people find it very, very difficult. So if you find it a little bit hard to relax, at least allow yourself to let go of those things that don't make difference, that you don't have control over, the things that don't matter, they don't make a difference. So you don't clutter your mind with the unnecessary things. Rina, would you like to, I know you talked about why mental fitness is important to you and where it comes from. Is there anything else from your experience that makes it such an important topic for you?
Well, to me, definitely, because if you don't start gaining some leverage on your mind, then the mind is going to break down. That's what we see, right? One of the number six, the sixth most important concern that people have now in COVID times is mental deterioration, right? So the world is just getting more and more stressful, more and more overwhelming. More and more information is coming our way. So of course, healing our mind or rising ourselves above all that, it becomes a more and more imperative issue to do. So it's no longer optional. It's no longer optional for us to just continue lives on autopilot like we did it until now and somehow wing it. Because I think slowly but surely things are catching up with us. And so if you want to remain relevant and actually really start living life from a peaceful place, from a place of harmony, from a place of flow, and not just fighting fires all the time, then looking into these issues is really, really important. And that's what I focus in my coaching, is really helping people do that and get a better understanding where it's all coming from and how it can be all. There's many simple tools, techniques that you can implement in your life now. It doesn't have to be difficult, that you can start implementing now and to start getting out. And one of the things that I found useful back then when I was really in my worst space and place is really finding someone who could be that sounding board of advice, who is probably a bit more mentally fit. And having that person in your life to start gaining different perspectives on life. People come to me all the time, clients, friends, in panic mode. They get so entangled in those emotions that they don't see that the issue is actually a little mouse and they make it an elephant out of it. That's what we do. If we are so wrapped up in our emotions, then we cannot see the issue for what it is. We make it bigger, more important, more significant than it needs to be. So if you are in that place, can you think of anyone in your life that you can reach out to? Ildiko is definitely someone that I could really call a sounding board of advice. She's a very peaceful person, and she is very, very full of harmony, I would say, and wise. So, and I'm sure you must have people like that in your life that you can reach out to start perspectives on your life, because we are so entangled in our issues that we don't see what's happening.
Yeah, with regards to that, hopefully most of you will know by now that we have a coaching gym that we run on Wednesdays, and that is all about getting coaches together to help each other through co-coaching, through a quick 15-20 minute session where you can support each other. It helps us to practice speed coaching techniques, to learn ways to quickly, really powerfully help our clients as well as it helps us when we are coached to get untangled, to get that perspective, to get that clarity. So we're not just, juggling and running around and getting lost, but create some clarity about, so where should we focus? Focus is a very big thing with regards to mental fitness. And this is one thing that I use many tools around, because we get so overwhelmed and because of everything that's going on. And that leads to the stress and anxiety and all those other things that damage our well-being, or mental well-being and physical well-being as well over time. And these techniques have really helped me help my clients. And also, my background is human resources. I have worked with leaders of businesses. I worked in financial services during the financial crash in 2008. I have worked in publishing company through a serious change period when basically everything was changing, and all those leaders and people in the businesses panic. Some of them may or may not admit it, but this is why Rina so beautifully praised me earlier. Thank you very much. But some of my CEOs actually have called me a calm source of advice and guidance, because in those really stressful periods, I was able to be the one holding their hand to help them get the perspective and clarity and calm down and focus on things that they can do and they can control, and what the next best step is to do going forward. And this ability to shift so quickly from panic to non-panic, like today, has even saved my life, and it helped me develop my career in that support role. I saw it as that my role was to support the businesses and people who were going through that fast pace of change. And obviously I led some of the change as well, in a way that they don't get tangled up, they don't get stuck, they don't get panic and stress and sleepless nights and whatever, as much as I could.
So the first step is really clearing up mental space. And so the tools that we use, like for instance, in my case, one of the tools that I recommend a lot lately is really start journaling. It's a very good tool. And I learned it when I read The Creative Sway. And it really, I've been writing for the last 2 years almost, and it's been one of the best techniques that I've found to really declutter my mind. Because all those thoughts, emotions, whatever is underneath, when you actually sit down and connect with that emotion, that panic, whatever stress, whatever is there, and give it a voice and allow it to tell you, because it has only your best interests in mind. Allow it to actually tell you why it's there, why it's bothering you. You might be surprised what answers you might get. And guess what? Once you actually thought about it, wrote it out, gave it a voice, it never usually comes back again. So I was able to really get to the bottom of a lot of things, because all that, what do you call it? Positive affirmations, right? It's very, very, very hard to be, imposing positive affirmations on your system. If you have like many sharks swimming in your tank, big fish eats the small fish, right? That's why positive affirmations don't work, or intentions don't last, or motivation doesn't last, because there is just too much that is eating up that energy that you wanted to actually use for creating certain things for yourself. It just gets eaten away. So you actually really need to declutter. There is no other way. There is no other way. You really need to start getting rid of those things, and perhaps also practicing moments of silence. It doesn't have to be a full-blown meditation. It doesn't have to be half an hour, 1 hour. If you just are able to close your eyes for a minute, and just a minute of full presence, that might be just the little ray of light that you need, that will actually open up the space for more and more clarity of mind, because that's what you want. What about you, Ildiko?
Yeah, so with regards to freeing up mental space, for me, a lot of it is around what I'm noticing with my clients is to get rid of that overwhelm that is creating that spiral, that stress and anxiety. And there's two simple but powerful techniques and tools that I use that I just love, because there's various different applications of it, and it helps so quickly, so powerfully. One is a CBT process that is all about, well, first of all, the most important thing is to notice that these things are going on in your head, these negative emotions that are creating the stress, the anxiety, the anger, blame, guilt, shame, all these different things. And the first most important thing is to notice that it's happening. And I mentioned it earlier that it's very important to then make the decision to stop it. So what I normally do is, and what I did earlier about half an hour ago, is a deep breath and realizing what's going on, a deep breath, and then say, okay, so how can I shift my mind now so I don't get tangled up and blocked? Because when I get into that panic mood, I forget my thoughts. I completely get thrown, and I forget what I wanted to say. So obviously it's not useful for anything. So once you have noticed it, caught it, the very important thing to ask is, because you mentioned earlier that these negative emotions, the stress and all of that has a purpose. It's there to protect you from something that might cause you harm or upset or something negative. So the first important question to ask ourselves is, so is this thought that's going on in my head, is this true? Is this a real risk to my well-being, to my health, to my happiness, whatever it is? Is this helpful? Is this constructive? If it is, then pay attention and decide what to do with it. If it's not, then just let it go. And realize that it's part, well, basically it comes from our survival brain that is trying to help us or keep us safe and protect us from all that harm. So we just need to realize that it is I'm talking my mental, from the survival brain that is trying to protect us. And the next bit is to make the decision to not allow it to hijack us, to spiral on and get us blocked. And once we have made that decision, then we look at the side that you've mentioned briefly earlier, is about the control. So what is it that I can control here? What is it that I can do now? And what's the best next step that I can take right now? So that's one of the tools. And another tool that I use is, it's got a visual side of it as well. A lot of people probably know the important urgent matrix. I'm not too keen on that, because it doesn't take into account what is actually impactful and aligns with your own purpose, what you're trying to achieve. So I use a technique called the impact effort optimization tool, when we look at all the different things that are in our head or on our to-do list and think about, so what is it actually going to make the most impact with regards to what you want to achieve and how much effort it requires from you. And we should focus on the things that will make the biggest impact. You know, we always talk about the 20-80 model, that we need to focus 80% our attention on the 20% of the tasks and things that are in our head that will make the most impact. And also do it in a way that aligns with your strength, with your passion, with things that energize you. And if it takes too much energy from you, it's likely that you're going to take too much time and it sucks the energy out of you. So you're not going to achieve as much, as well, as fast as you could do if you put your focus elsewhere. So with those tasks that take too much energy from us, it's best to see if there's someone else who could do it, if it needs to be done at all. So these are the two tools that tend to be really powerful for my clients with regards to shifting their attention to those things that are actually helping them thrive and move forward faster and strengthens their mental well-being, mental fitness as well.
So you mentioned stress and worry. So I like mentioning that the brain is the most stressful part of our body. It never pretty much gets to rest. You know, when you go to the gym and you flex your muscles, you exercise, it hurts, you give it a rest, a few days, it goes back to normal. Our brain, day in, day out, day in, day out. And if you keep stressing and worrying day in, day out, what do you think it does to your mental fitness? Do you get good sleeps at all? Does your brain ever get to rejuvenate? It's very, very hard to be mentally fit from a space like that, from a space of stress and worry. We are mostly water, and water can be programmed energetically, right? It's been proven. But by projecting certain emotions, certain feelings, we condition water to be in a certain way. Well, the brain is just like that. If there is too much stress, too much worry, it never gets to relax. And that's why you mentioned, Ildiko, relaxing is a big, big issue. I keep saying that in the past, when I was most stressed, I would lie down at night, and I almost would be like holding my bed, still so stressed, as if somebody would attack me. I could not even relax when there was nothing to worry about, because there was always something going on. And you would be worried about what's going to happen in a year, next week, in an hour. You never really get to properly relax, and your mind, your brain never gets to rejuvenate. Guess what? Physical body gets tired, emotional body gets tired, your mental body gets tired too, and it needs to be rejuvenated. And of course, all of them rejuvenate when you sleep, but also they get rejuvenated by doing things that give you joy, right? Going into being in nature and things like that, right? If you know you have something important coming up, then why not leaving, town for a day or so and doing something outdoors. But basically, one thing that I wanted to mention at this point, one of the things that I found also quite useful when it comes to removing stress and worry is a technique that we learned about a year ago. And it's this whole tuning in and actually realizing how much of that stress and worry is yours. How much of whatever you experience, whatever you're thinking is authentically your energy. And you might be surprised that a lot of the things, a lot of the programs, a lot of the thoughts, a lot of the stressful energy that you're running is actually not even yours. So I remember when I was still working in consulting and I had all those people, because usually we share cubicles, right? There are hundreds of people around you and they have problems and they have ailments and they have conflicts and there are a lot of stuff going on, right? So do you think it's not going to affect me? Do you think it was not going to affect me, all the stress? I was not going to absorb it? Of course I did. I'm an introvert. So back then I needed at least 3-4 evenings a week by myself, completely drained. I needed to rejuvenate. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't want to see anybody. I would just make my meal and hide in my room because I was so exhausted. And again, this is because our minds get exhausted by all that energy that we are picking up. So of course, working on your environment is very, very important. Getting enough light in, putting the music that actually puts you in a nice state. There are all kinds of energy clearings modalities that are out there. You can pick and choose whatever works best for you. And but actually really noticing what energy is not yours and just letting it go, One of the techniques that we learned in our coaching course, where we actually, most of us I have met, right, is just tuning in into your energy field and figuring out, okay, I'm freaking out right now. What is the percentage of the freak out that is actually mine? Ildiko, how much of that freak out was actually yours? What's the percentage?
Well, this time, it's I think 100%, because it comes from that my saboteurs, my self-critiques, that, oh, what if I mess it up, and is it going to be interesting enough, and all that sort of stuff. And just me talking to the camera normally creates some sort of panic anyway. That's why having a conversation style always works a lot better for me, because I already know about myself. It triggers something in me. Something must have happened
so excellent
years ago.
So that's what we've learned. And when you are actually dealing 100% with your own stress, worry, emotion, whatever it is, you are actually able to cope it. It's not bigger than you. However, when we have, let's say, 80% of energy sitting that's not ours, then it's hard to cope because it's too much, it's too overwhelming. So start getting rid of, at the end of the day, whenever you're off to bed, focus, tune in, let it go. Just have the intention, may it return to whoever I picked it up from, and just let it go. You'd be surprised. Like those of you who are traveling a lot, I remember when COVID just started and I went back home, and I actually had to stay in an Airbnb. And the first day I was staying there, my computer wasn't working, and I was so angry. I was so angry. And then I sat down and I'm like, is this your anger? Because this is not me. Like I never get this angry. And it was a tiny little issue. But the anger was almost rage. I almost was like, I'm going to throw my laptop out the window. And then I sat down and like, it must be the energy of this place. It must be the energy of this place. So I stopped and I'm like, okay, let me do some clearing on this place. And I was back to normal. It was not a big deal. So how many emotions are you running that are someone else's?
Yeah.
So do that.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Now, what it brings up for me is, with regard to letting go what's not yours, is one of the signs that it might not be your issue, your energy, your thing, is the shoulds. When someone says, "Oh, I should do this," and I always pick up on that, because and then question it. So what does that mean that you should? I hate that word, but it's one of those that it's really powerful for us coaches to really dig into it, because that can create such an insight, such a new understanding and clarity for clients as well. When you look into the shoulds, what's behind the should? Who said it should be done? Who says you should feel that way or should act that way or whatever it is? Is it someone else's? So you are thinking about it, that you should do that because you think that's what someone else expects of you. So it's about the pleasing. It's about trying to look good because that's what someone else wants from you, kind of thing. Or is it a should from you? Well, again, where does that should come from? Do you feel, very often there's some sort of guilt or shame behind the should. So what is it? Where does that should come from? Why is it a should and not an I want to? Because when you got there, when you find the place of I want to, that's the bit where that really aligns with your vision, with your purpose, with who you are, with how you want your life to be, with what you and who you want to become. So it's a very simple, a very powerful little thing to pick up on and really consider. So why is it a should?
Perhaps we can share a bit about ourselves as well. So we've been running this coaching community for the last 1 year. And there were many moments where Ildiko and I, we really felt overwhelmed. And this is when we had to pivot because we were realizing that we were doing things that we were supposed to do, not the things we wanted. And one of the things we kept saying, this community must bring us joy. The things that we do, it has to be fun for us. And so there were a few moments last year where we were really overwhelmed. And that's when we had conversations and we're like, I don't enjoy this, let's stop it. I don't enjoy that, let's stop it, right? And this is what you can also do, free up your mental space by getting rid of all those things that you should do. I sure you should do, I sure you must do. Get rid of whatever you feel like is somebody else making you do, breathing down your neck, get rid of it. And this is where we kept pivoting and pivoting and pivoting. And this is where we are now. And I feel like we're in a very comfortable way that works for us. Right? And one thing that perhaps I also wanted to mention this here at this point is that part of it is also about surrendering to the way things are. Right? Buddha said, suffering is fighting with what is. Together with that other phrase, if you can change something about it, why worry? If you can't change it, why worry? By Shantideva. Another phrase that I really like is, when I get overwhelmed, when I get a freak out, I'm like, it is what it is. It is what it is. Can I change it? No. Then it is what it is. So I have to find ways to flow with that. It is what it is. And as you're getting your businesses started, you might be worried about, I don't have clients and I don't know how I'm going to pay my bill next week. It is what it is. You don't have a client. It is what it is. That is the reality. And one book that I highly recommend is The Surrender Experiment. So somewhere around February, every year, and for the last couple of years, I read the book Surrender Experiment by Michaelson. And it's February, so I should download it today. I highly advise you listen to the audiobook. I think any business owner should read this book. I feel like this book really gave me the right mindset, kind of straighten my mind out and help me gain that almost like a better understanding. If I really want to succeed in my business, then this is how things are if I don't want to be hustling all my life and feeling like everything's a chore, because not everyone is so willful. And personally, I don't think that right way of doing things, maybe for Tony Robbins, it works because he is a very willful person, but most of us, we are not. And honestly, I would rather have fun and joy in my business and do what I like rather than just like bulldozing my way through all the obstacles that are on my path. So it's mental fitness. It's also having the right mindset, really. And Surrender Experiment, I think, is one of the best books I've ever read. And it's Michaelson's story and his own experiment with surrendering to the way things are. It is what it is. So, and it's not about surrendering, doesn't mean like, life you want, I lost, do whatever the hell you want with me, and I'm going to be just a passive observer and you can bounce me around and throw me here and there. No, it's actually surrendering means removing inner resistances and the fight with the reality. Reality is, these are how things are. What can we do about it? Can I do something about it? Let me do about it. But actually, the real work is always within. Those of you who are coaches and you're watching it, perhaps you have heard this phrase before, that great successes are always precipitated by great inner successes. So it's all the inner work. Yes, the situation is like that. That's my reality. I don't have a client today, and I don't know how I'm going to pay my bill. What can I surrender within me? Maybe I need to surrender the fear that I'll never get a client. Maybe I need to surrender the fear, that what am I going to eat next week? I keep saying this, and I don't mind sharing it. And for the last four and a half years, ever since I became self-employed, there were so many days where I had $10 left on my bank account, and I was somewhere in the middle of the US, and this was just going to be enough for a meal. But because I had such a strong spiritual practice, I was donating. Whenever I had money, I was donating, which is, again, I believe in karma. What you give is going to come back to you, trying to help people. That's the thing. I spent last year hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of my life giving away for free coaching, giving away discovery calls, whatever. I was desperate because I wanted to learn how to coach as well. And because I didn't quite figure out how to get clients, right? So I didn't care, because I thought all that time that I invest, and somehow every single person would walk away with something that has benefited them, some sort of a little impact on their life. That's what we do. Then I knew this is all going to come back to me somehow. I just knew that whatever I put out would come back. Not always it came back as money, but it came back as healings. I received a lot of free healings last year. And I believe it's because it came back. So that is why I don't worry. If I have $10 on my bank account, I don't worry. As it's said in the Bible, take care of today, tomorrow is going to take care of itself, right? So and that's, to me, is surrender. I have $10 on my bank account. Am I going to go stealing? No, I'm not going to go stealing. So I just trust that I'm not going to starve. Somebody, somehow, things are going to turn around. I used to admire people that had such a strong faith in God, whatever they believed in. I never was like that. But honestly, after this years, and especially since I became a business owner, I became a believer. Because as I'm putting out this energy, I'm spending that time. Some of you might have a lot of time on your hands. It's not about trading it all the time. First, somebody needs to pay me, then I'm going to coach. Coach left and right for free. And you might be surprised what it's going to do to you. Because it is what it is. Right now, you might not have coaching clients. But right now, you still already have something valuable that you can offer and put out there, rather than sitting around, moaning and being upset and being like complaining about life and why things are not working out. Just start doing something somehow. Start sharing, start giving stuff to people. It may be tomorrow, maybe in 3 months, but eventually it's all going to start returning to you. How does that sound? Have you read that book, by the way, Ildiko? I've been telling me this for a year now.
Could you say it again? Sorry, the line wasn't very clear.
I was just wondering whether you read the book, because I know I keep telling you, at least every few months I mention this book to you.
I know you're very passionate about the surrender experience. I have heard about it many times. Oh yeah, definitely. There's 2 books that come to mind. One of them is called Positive Intelligence, and that is all about a fairly simple, scientifically proven process of strengthening your mental fitness. It's about catching the survival brain, as we call in that book, it's called the saboteur brain, that is sabotaging your progress and creating the stress and anxiety and all those negative feelings that keep you stuck and spiral on, and then shifting into a more empowered state of mind. So that's one of them. I'm actually teaching that technique myself. I've got a 6-week program on it. I've been taught by the author of the book, who is a Stanford lecturer. And this tool is based on a number of different scientific research studies and his own research over the many decades, from positive psychology, neuroscience, cognitive behavioral science, and performance science. So that's one of them. If you like a scientific way of strengthening your mental fitness, I recommend that. And another one, if you want a more fun reading, is called Flip It from Michaelson. And that's all about that shift. So how do you shift from a negative place to a more positive mindset that will make it a lot easier, a lot lighter to deal with challenges in life, and then make sure that you don't get stuck in there. So yeah, those two that come to mind. And with regards to, we talked about stress and anxiety earlier, and you talked about the control and, surrendering, basically letting go of the things that you can't control. Another thing that is very simple and very powerful is where we focus. So whether we're focusing on the past, on the future, or the now, because very often we worry about things and we get stressed about things because we remember what happened in the past, and we worry that might replicate in the future. So the thing about that is, if we worry about what happened in the past, we can't control that, we can't change it. So one, it's wasting your effort, your energy, and two, it's keeping you stuck. If you're worrying about the future, that something may happen, you have no idea if that is going to be the case or not. So we look at, so what is the truth? Is it likely that will happen? Because it's in the future, it's just based on your imagination and assumptions. So again, there's no point.
99% of your problems are just, or worries are just in your head.
Yeah, exactly. So when you are stressing and anxious and whatever, just think about, okay, am I worrying about something that happened in the past? Am I worrying about something that may or may not happen in the future? And if that's the case, recognize that and let it go. And the only thing you can control is the now. So how do you do that? You have to get out of your mind all those worries that the survival brain is creating and come back into the body. And one way of doing it, like Rina, I know you're very big on meditation. With regards to the mental fitness training that I do, we do similar things, but basically we come back into the senses, visuals, touch, anything, all the different senses that are happening in the body. And this way you can shift very quickly, more, especially if you practice it more, it becomes a lot easier to shift. And that's what building and strengthening the mental fitness is, to make that shift quicker and that shift stronger for you. So we call it, and it's all detailed in the Positive Intelligence book as well.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. And so, of course, when you actually made that shift and you're fully present in the here and now, then it's much, much easier to actually make decisions from a place of peace and harmony. And this is what you really want to get to, is really start living your life. And this is what mental fitness is really, to me, is like, when the world goes crazy, you are an island unto yourself, and you have that clarity, that peace, and everybody's freaking out, and you see things for what they are. You don't get overwhelmed. You just see clearly, clutter, clutter, clutter. This is what it is. Let's go for it. That's why there are always people who are, leaders of countries, leaders of departments and businesses. If despite all the stress, all the things that they have to deal with, they still have this ability to really move away all that what's unnecessary and go really for the goal, for the target, and have that clear vision. where everybody is confused and nobody's really seeing the direction they do. And so one technique that I found, I discovered recently, maybe the last 6 months, that I found quite useful for that as well, is the peace process by Michaelson. In case some of you have done the free sessions at Cell or of his programs, this is one of almost the backbone of a lot of the things that he does. And the peace process is really, really, really simple to learn and to use. I use it all the time in my coaching. I teach my clients to do it for themselves. And it's just that when you have a freak out, usually that freak out has a home in your body somewhere. Find where that emotion is. Is it in your throat? Is it in your chest? Is it in your gut? Is it in your shoulder? Is it in your head? Wherever that is, and put a finger on that, the most intense part of the most intense part, and just breathe into it. Send it some love. Be fully, fully, fully present with that emotion. And you would be surprised how in 5 minutes, in 1 minute, sometimes 10 minutes, that emotion just goes away. You don't need to know the story. You don't need why it's there. You need to know why it's there, what purpose it has. Just hold your finger on that and be fully present and aware. And you would be surprised that just then, the emotion just wants to be seen. It just wants to be seen and acknowledged. And then it goes away. And you let it go then. What about you, Ildiko? What's your strategy?
I occasionally use the instant miracle mastering the peace process myself. As I mentioned, those, as we call it, PQ reps, those couple of minutes of focus back into the body. And also just things like having a conversation with your future elder self. So if you imagine yourself talking to your future elder self, who's very wise, who's seen it, who's been there, knows what you're going through right now, and have a conversation with her, with him, and just ask, actually allow her to ask you what is important about what is going on. What is it that is not important and you just shouldn't worry about at all? What would she say to you? What would she say to you? And once you realize that, you can get rid of a lot of that rubbish in there, and then you can pick the best things that are most important and most beneficial for you right now, that also align with who you are, who you want to be, with your vision, with your purpose. Things that are meaningful. For example, when I did one of these visualizations myself, some of the things that were important and she would help me understand is that I help people. That's very important to me. I want to be that person. I want to give love to people, especially people who don't have enough love, but very, very worthy to have love and the support, but very often they don't have the support. So I want to help them become their best, to thrive, to be happy, to be successful, to self-actualize, basically. And the things that are not important, the very, very first, the biggest thing that came out is what other people think. It's not important what they think. What is important is how we feel about what we do and who we are becoming in this journey of development and change and growth and whatever else it is.
Most people are busy thinking about themselves. We make ourselves more important than we think. I really like this technique. I've never done it before, this asking your future self. I'm going to give it a try. I really like the sound of it. Thank you for sharing, Ildiko. So, and then of course, when we are mentally fit, it increases the overall sense of well-being. Like I said, in the past, podcasts like this would have sent me in a panic mode for days. And now it's just like not a big deal. I go with my life. I'm happy. This is not a stressful situation for me at all. And that's what it is. Mental fitness is not being stressed anymore over the little things. All those little things that kind of like can cause us an emotional kind of like roller coaster ride. All of it is so stressful to us. I seldom get stressed anymore. That's to me is well-being. That's really to me well-being. And another piece to my well-being is I keep emphasizing, I can't emphasize this hard enough, strong enough, is how you start your day. Is really how do you start your day. Many people, they waste the most precious energy that they should be investing on them. They waste it on scrolling social media, they waste it on watching some replays, they waste it on even educational stuff. I would suggest the very first hour of your day, you just invest it into something that gives you joy. If reading a book gives you joy, do that. If, like for me, it's writing my book that gives me joy. If painting gives you joy, if drinking a coffee gives you joy, if just staring out the window is what gives you joy, then find that which gives you joy. Define your own miracle morning. There is a book about that miracle morning, right? It's the savers. You sit in silence, then you have your affirmations, visualizations for 10 minutes, exercises for 10 minutes, and other things. But it's a good book, and some of this you might be something that really gives you joy. But I highly advise you design your own miracle morning. You define your own 1 hour, and you invest in yourself, because that's the foundation for the whole day. You cannot control what's going to happen to you in the afternoon, evening. And many people, they think at the end of the day is when I'm going to do some self-nurturing. Usually you're running on fumes by the end of the day has finished, and you have too much energy from somebody else sitting in your energy field. So it's very, very hard for you to, all we want to do is probably just lie down and watch TV, right? So that's why I highly advise, if you need to carve out another hour, get up earlier, then do something that gives you joy. Like drinking my coffee was such a big joy. Now I don't drink coffee, as you know, I stopped drinking coffee a month ago. But having my bowl of fruit, it gives me joy. And I do it because it really gives me joy. Like when I eat it, and figure out what are those little things that really puts you in a place of content, that relax your brain. You already fill your system, your mind, your emotional field with a certain sense of well-being. From that sense of well-being, it's so much easier to run your day and your life. So give it a try. What about you, Ildiko?
Yeah, very much so. I do agree about the morning. It's great to have rituals, but I also recognize sometimes things happen and you just can't stick to it. There's so many people who can't. It takes a lot of discipline to build a practice. So something else to also try is, when you find yourself in a situation where you can see that it's taking over or your energy is running out, ask yourself a single, because for me, the overall well-being is about that holistic happiness. So aligning your body, mind, spirit, and make sure that they all are happy. They're all in a space where you're well, you're happy, you're strong. So ask yourself the question, so what does my soul require right now? What would make me happy right now? What does my body need right now? Like right now, I'm feeling like I did 2 hours in the gym. My arms need some stretching because my hands are shaking a little bit from all the weightlifting and everything. What does your soul require? Is it some music, or walk in a fresh air in the forest, or whatever, or having a chat with a friend, or just having a coffee with your husband, or half an hour play on the floor with your kids, whatever it is that your soul requires. So what is it that you need right now? And make sure that you do those little things for yourself. Because if you don't fill your own cup, you can't support others as powerfully. If you run out, if you burn out. So one of the things why I'm so passionate about this topic, because I've seen so many very talented, great people burning out and miserable, because they haven't learned how to shift, how to manage this, how to strengthen their mental fitness, and how to get into a more positive, empowered place. So they get stuck in that pressure, in that overwhelm, in that stress. So Another very simple tool is, if you worked in the corporate world, slightly very often used, the strategic review tool is the stop, start, continue. Very simple. Ask yourself, what is it that you want in your life? Who do you want to become? What are the things that would make you happy, satisfied in your life? And then 3 columns. What are the things that you like about yourself? What are the things you like about your life, about your work, whatever else? What is it that you don't like or don't align with you or with what you want? And what are the things that are missing? So things you really want in there, but they're just not there yet. And then the things you like, those are the things you need to continue in your life. The things you don't like or don't align, those are the things you need to find a way to stop. And then the things that are missing from your life, those are the new things that you need to start building in. So replace those don't likes, don't aligns with the items that are missing and would really make a great impact in your well-being, in your happiness.
Excellent. So we hope you found these little techniques useful. Watch the replay again. Hope you've written it down. I hope this was interesting. And thank you so much for joining us. And see you next week. I think we have another guest coming next week. And
yeah, next week we talk about imposter syndrome, especially for coaches. So I met this lovely lady. She used to be a psychology lecturer. Now she's got her own publishing company. She will come and talk to about anything, and she's written books about it too. So come and join us. Then unfortunately we have to go now. We can't stay online because we've got other meetings. But do you know where we are? Come and have a chat with us, ask questions, whatever you like, and we will put little links and the book titles in the Facebook group chat as well. Thanks for being with us. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.